Down in the classes, without knowledge we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classics. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks, cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maat.
Peace and love, family. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Maat. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion. And I have with me tonight another powerful guest, but she is no stranger to the Truth to Power Talk shows. Mama Yaa Baruti, how are you doing, my sister?
I am doing great. Thank you so much, Mama.
I appreciate you coming on the show tonight, family. She's no stranger to the platform. She's been here. She came back at the previous discussion. We talked about African-centered education for African children. And so tonight we're going to have a powerful discussion on the need to resist the horrification of African women. So right now, family, take a moment out to share this video. We have to get this message out. We have to get this message out to our sisters that the behavior we've been seeing in the media, the depictions of African women that we've been seeing in the media is not right. We have to resist it and we have to speak out and against it. All right, speak out, up, and against it. So, family, take a moment out, share this video on all of the platforms. If you have a Twitter, or Instagram, or YouTube, or Facebook, take a moment out to share this video. Also, family, if you're watching this discussion on Facebook, head on over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, Dr. Maat. Be sure to hit subscribe and click the notification bell so that as soon as I go live, you will be notified. Also, take some time out to check out my other Truth to Power Talk shows. I brought on some powerful people. I brought on Mama Yaa Baruti. I brought on her husband, I keep saying Walimu, Baruti. I brought on him. I brought on Professor James Smalls. I brought on even Baba Imhotep. I brought on Dr. Kaba Kamene and many other people. So check out the other videos. Also, family, join me on Sundays right here at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the resurgence of the African Mind Book Club. In fact, this Sunday, we will be announcing our next book. And I know that I said that probably 2 shows ago, but really this time, family, this Sunday, join us at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to find out the next book that the Resurgence of the African Mind Book Club will be reading. So before we get started, family, I am going to read Mama Yaa Baruti's bio. Mama Baruti, or Mama Yaa Baruti, is a wife, a mother, grandmother, and community mama, and elder in training residing in Atlanta, Georgia. A former English faculty member at Morehouse College and Chicago State University. She, along with her husband, Mwalimu Baruti, is co-founder and co-director of Afrikan Institute, an African-centered homeschool tutorial program that just completed its 21st school year. Ashe, and co-founder of Afrikan House, their African-centered publishing company. She is working on 2 books, one about her mother and one about African male-female relationships, the theme of their annual complementarity conference. Mama Yaa and Mwalimu have lectured and co-written articles on African-centered education, while she has lectured on topics related to African womanhood. She is the facilitator of a sister circle that is an online discussion of African womanhood, sisterhood, motherhood, and relationships. Afrikan House, and you can visit Afrikan House at http://afrikanhouse.com, offers books and DVD lectures related to African-centered education. Mama Yaa, thank you so much again for joining me tonight.
I definitely appreciate the invitation, Mama. Give thanks.
Yes. And so, family, I reached out to, let me give you a little backstory as to how we, came up with this show. So, Cardi B had dropped her video WAP. And so I was going at it with people on Facebook and in different Facebook groups. And I was just fed up, and just tired of the way African women are depicted. Not saying that Cardi B is an African woman. We know Megan Thee Stallion is, but just upset about how we are depicted in the media. And it's not just, the WAP video, is, Nicki Minaj and so many other people, how we are looked at in music videos, how we're depicted in movies and TV shows. And, just so I was fed up. And so during that time, I was scrolling through my Facebook feed and I came across a post that Mama Yaa Baruti put up about her giving a lecture on resisting the horrification of African women. And I said, wow, I said, I need to reach out to Mama Yaa and get her back on this platform to talk about, resisting, or the need to resist the horrification of African women. So Mama Yaa, I want to start off by asking you this. What did you mean by when you said the horrification of African women? Can we start by defining what you mean by that, and then get into where that originated from?
Okay, Mama. We all know the root word whore, synonym for prostitute, someone who sleeps around casually. But I came up with the word horrification based upon, that's a process. So, of course, African women were not born whores. And we initially did not embrace that behavior. But of course, if we look at our story, I date the beginning of this process with the invasion of Arabs. And Ayikwe Amr, in his book, 2000 Seasons, he depicts that well. We know more about, I think we're generally more familiar with that process done by European males. And that goes back to from us being kidnapped in order to be brought over here. So on the coffle lines, there were our people, our ancestors, male and female and children, walked for hundreds of miles, whatever that distance is, they had to walk to get to the dungeons. But during that process, of course, they didn't walk 24/7. So whenever the Euro devils were taking time to rest, that was opportunities for them to rape the women and men. And so can I just, a quick aside, this horrification process was not limited to women, but as someone who focuses on topics relative to African women, but definitely we could also do a discussion on the horrification of African males. And in fact, it has been going on, side by side.
Yes.
But I think as men, and men are just biologically wired different than women with the testosterone. So they naturally will have a greater preoccupation with sex, just, biologically waking up in the morning, with an erection. But for women, that's something that was definitely put on us, forced on us. Okay, so in the dungeons, of course, you had repeat on the ships, we were being raped. So we were being treated as whores. But it's the difference between when we say our people were enslaved, but they weren't slaves. They were Africans who were enslaved. So early in our dealings with these Euros and Arabs, it was something that was forced upon us. But, so with even throughout our enslavement, okay, then of course, with the changing of roles of that process, it changed. But say, even if I think about the octoroons and, the mixed heritage Black women in Louisiana, for example, where they would use that status, they were, had a certain status over Black skinned women. They were more desirable. So they were in a position where, they would voluntarily enter into relationships with these white males. And then maybe, I'm sure, African women and men have been forced to do things we wouldn't normally do for our financial survival.
That's right.
So even, and maybe we have fewer details about that, but I'm sure the rapes did not end, with the ending of our enslavement. However, so this is a continuing process. So with some women, for survival, maybe volunteer, and I'll put voluntarily in quotation marks. If you're doing something to survive, that doesn't mean that that's who you are. And a woman who prostitutes herself, simply if her children are starving, she cannot provide for her basic or her children's basic needs. prostituting herself is very different from, we do things to survive, which is different from what we're seeing going on now, where African women are voluntarily entering in these relationships with the descendants of our enslavers, but not as if that process ended. So the oppressors today were voluntarily entering into those relationships, but also, and then, you know, fast forward, but major part of this historical look, 60s and 70s in this country, you know, the sexual revolution, and, you know, which is really funny, Mama. So where African people are given freedom. So in a land where you're being oppressed for the first true freedom, because we know with the Emancipation Proclamation, it just slavery turned into sharecropping, you know, other forms of slavery, and then Jim Crow. So the slavery and oppression continued by different names. But for the first time, you really want to free us. So why would your enemy want to free you? They're freeing you, not truly free, but free you to feel comfortable with degrading yourself sexually in terms of them, so that you become easy prey for them, or willing prey for these predators. And you think, oh, I have freedom. So, and of course, with birth control, legalization of abortion. So the natural things that would cause women to be more concerned and circumspect in the way that they behave sexually, the possibility of getting pregnant goes out the window, you know, with birth control and abortions. And Mama, that number is just extremely disgusting. The hundreds of thousands of abortions Black women have, you know, each year in this country. But so the 60s, and, you know, I grew up in the 70s, definitely listened to the music and saw the movies where all of that was being promoted, and it just continued. And, you know, fast forward to the present, and as you mentioned, Cardi B, who's not African, but she's in the music, and I think she's honorary, you know, considered as such. She's taken as such. But, you know, we could even had this WAP, and I just learned about it when I did my sister circle dealing with that topic, Mama. I hadn't heard about it. And after that, Baba saw the lyrics. Somebody, I guess, sent him the lyrics. He sent, I could barely stand to read it. You just, whoa. But,
Mama, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. All I saw was clips.
I haven't seen the video. No, I just read the lyrics. I haven't seen the video.
So you said, Mama, it was just, you couldn't even read the lyrics.
No. But and you just mentioned, or when we're discussing this, the number of women who got on your case for critiquing the lyrics. So the number of Black women who are defending just, Mama, filth, just absolute filth.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's filth.
Absolutely.
It's degenerate behavior.
Yes.
And you know, and so, you know, I want you to talk about Oprah, because when we were offline, you mentioned how Oprah Winfrey plays a part in that. But a lot of people would look at Oprah Winfrey and say, well, no, she's a philanthropist. Look, she's created wonderful movies. She gave us The Color Purple. She gave us The Life of Henrietta Lacks. So they'll say, wait a minute, Oprah contributed to this. So can you explain, Mama Yaa, how Oprah Winfrey actually contributes to that whole thing?
Absolutely, Mama. The Oprah Winfrey show that started in the 80s, and she wasn't the only one, but she was one of the talk show hosts, and she was the Black one who, on the show, the topics, she helped to legitimize stripping and women using their sexual power to, you know, empower themselves. So things that behavior that would normally not be accepted. And she also interracial, because for me, as an African person voluntarily being sexually involved with the descendants and our current oppressors, the descendants of our enslavers and our current oppressors, that's horrification, because that's that's how they used us as their whores. And it was forced upon us, but it's currently being done. So she definitely promoted interracial relationships. So in promoting those shows, and of course, our poor people who we are so much sheep, so when they fell in love with Oprah, whatever Oprah says, Oprah became this god. And so Oprah was on her show promoting, even she had a show maybe toward the end closer to when the show was going off, the topic, young people, what is sex like today? And, she's giving them a platform. And I remember an episode where the females, and it was a mixture of black and white, but they're saying, well, today's world, I might want to sleep with a man tonight. I might a female tomorrow. It's anything goes, threesomes, whatever. So her show was a platform that sanctioned that behavior. She gave them a platform, whereas previously in our community, because when I was taught, these Euros, they might do anything, and their history shows that. And they have bragged about what they have done. That's how we know the things that they've done. But we had certain standards, and it definitely, Mama, I grew up at a time, growing up in the 70s, all the people I knew just in my small hometown, they weren't righteous. There were adulterers, there were some homosexual, you had different things going on, but there were standards, and people knew that you did not broadcast it. Not only you didn't broadcast it, you didn't want anybody to know other than those people who, so if you're a philanderer, you sleeping around, well, you want females who you want to sleep around with know that you're open to that. But other people who would be opposed to that, you definitely did not want that. But the standards that we have of how you're supposed to act, and it doesn't mean that anyone has been perfect, but it means that you had standards. And even if when you didn't live up to those standards, for me, so premarital sex, I was taught against that. And that was my plan in life, which I did not hold on to. However, but I knew I was breaking the standards. So I wasn't comfortable with doing it. And I definitely wasn't broadcasting it. But when there are no standards, you're comfortable with doing anything and everything. And so Oprah's role was, and that she started in the 80s, Mama, but her shows today, Cane, Sugar, the Black Lead, this beautiful chocolate African woman, intelligent, strong. She loves Black people, her beautiful natural hair. The show opens with her as having an affair with a white male who is married, who is a police officer. And then, but also this same female, so she's had sexual relationships with Black men, but she also has sexual relationships with Black women. So you're putting women, same thing with Scandal. We see this different versions of that same story. You show a beautiful, talented, intelligent Black woman that Black women are so happy to see, and we see them in lead positions, but you make them into whores.
Come on, Mama.
But they're being portrayed as they're powerful role models, and they are definitely not role models for me. And I think they should not be role models for women who want to represent an African standard, because that behavior is not our traditional standards whatsoever. And, beyond Africa, even in this country. And that's why it's so helpful to be of a certain age. So we know, I'm older than you, Mama, but we know what African people are doing today. They have not always done. What's being applauded and accepted was not the norm for us. And the problem is, I learned that teaching at Morehouse, the young people don't know that. So parents are dropping the ball. Now, it doesn't mean that because we teach our children, they won't involve themselves in Euro behavior, but at least they've been taught. So if you've been taught, then you're making choices. But then you can also always choose to return to what you've been taught.
That's right.
But if you've never been taught, you're out there acting the fool and, proud of it. And you want the world to know.
That's right. Like you said, at least if you are a parent and you've instilled a certain standard in your child, even if that child deviates, like you said, mama, you can come back to
Yes,
it. But if that standard wasn't there, or if the standard wasn't there, they have nothing to come back to. So I agree with you that it's society and also parents, like you said, we are dropping the ball, with allowing
absolutely.
we're dropping the ball. I couldn't agree with you more. So Mama Yaa, when we were offline, you also talked about the contradictory behavior that you and myself and others have observed, even with Beyonce. I know that right now, a lot of people are praising her for her new musical film. I think they said it's one big musical video, Black is King. And so they're looking at that and some of her other music videos where she's, shedding a positive light on Blackness and African history and culture and even HBCU culture. And so, but then she'll show you this, but on the flip side, we were talking about that other side that we don't talk about, or the other side that we dismiss because she gives us some positive imagery. So Mama Yaa, can you speak to that, please?
Oh, absolutely. I personally love Beyonce's voice. I think she's very talented. And you mentioned some of the positive things she's done, and I want to add to it because African-centered people, anytime we see something African, we're so happy to see somebody mainstream do something African. So she dressed like Oshun at some award show, and people, on social media, they're all hyped. We get distracted. That's similar to what Euros do. They do something positive. They'll have a movie about a Black person, and we get all excited without knowing. So it's like what Euros did, and when they enslaved and colonized us, they, gave us some trinkets, and we're laughing and oh, these are cute and shiny. I think Desmond Tutu said years ago, Euros came over and told them to pray. And while giving the African people the Bible, they were still in the land. So
yes.
She does some positive things like Oprah, who donates millions of dollars to HBCUs. But the harm that's done, and just Beyonce, every time, other than maybe a few times, she has been covered. Every time you see her perform, she's half naked and her legs are spread open. And I think even today, Mama, I realize I don't even think a lot of young people even see anything sexual about that. They have that's what you do. But that's why our young people need to be talking to older people.
That's
because
right.
They don't have a point of reference to what's wrong if their whole lives they've been seeing the madness. But so whatever positive things, I don't know, she perhaps has some concern for Black people, but I think her greater concern is for her pocketbook. And from my perspective, she's willing to do whatever. So she doesn't mind doing something positive, but my analogy would be the gangbanger or the drug dealer, who could be one and the same, but who can donate money to the community. They may be giving family members money. Yay. However, that's all at the same time. They're addicting our people to drugs. They're turning our children into gangbangers. So even if it's $1 million or any amount of money is not worth turning our people into anything other than beautiful African, strong African women and men. So Beyonce definitely is in the boat with others. And specifically, one of the most repulsive things about Beyonce is when I read about the lyrics in her song. I don't know if the song is called Monica Lewinsky, or she alludes to Monica Lewinsky. And I don't know, we have younger people Google her, but she was the one, the intern who was performing oral sex on Clinton in the White House. But anyway, she's saying that she did that to her husband in a limo on their way wherever. And she's talking about semen getting on her dress. So this is the Beyonce that we need to be concerned about. So just that all of the, that's just disgusting. So her doing a positive video there, she does more harm than good. Absolutely. Because basically her power, she has become wealthy, being in part because she's talented, but many people are talented. If her sexualization in her music and persona, if that were not there, she would not be where she is, because of course Euros have a major hand in who becomes the superstars, because they help to pay those salaries,
absolutely,
by the endorsements, whatever opportunities, whatever. So it's definitely, she does more harm than good.
Absolutely. Family, right now, please share this show. I have Mama Yaa Baruti on tonight. We are talking about the need to resist the horrification of African women. So take some time out right now. And I do see that you're sharing the show. I'm looking on my phone and it's saying so-and-so shared, so-and-so shared. So please continue to share this show. Let's fill the chat room up. We need to get this message out that we need to resist the horrification of African women. We demand better images, more positive images. We want, as women, we should want that though, Mama Yaa. We should want to be depicted, in a positive way. But like you said earlier, Mama, I don't even think that women know whether this is negative, whether they even view how we are being portrayed as negative. I don't even think they even view it as negative, negative imagery. They think that it's okay because we have normalized, or they have normalized, the Yoruba have normalized degenerate behavior. It's normal. It's normal. Like you said, we live in a society where anything goes. And so it's normal to see these things. So Mama Yaa, what would you say to people who would say, oh, Mama, you want celebrities to be your role models? They shouldn't be role models. Why do you have an issue with Oprah and an issue with Beyonce and an issue? You as a mother should be your child's role model. So why are you worried about Oprah and Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion? And, even though, like you said, Cardi B is not an African woman, but someone may say you all want celebrities to be role models for your children. They're not role models. What do you have to say about that, Mama Yaa?
Well, I say definitely, I agree with them that mothers, the aunts, and personal family friends. So this is just it's true. Our role models, and even for us adults, our role models should be people that we know personally, and it should not be just based upon their talent, skills, whatever, wealth that they might be sharing to some degree with other Africans. That shouldn't be our role models. I think African people, we definitely have a problem. We put people on pedestals. So if you do something positive, and that's how they get us. So I'll do some celebrity, entertainer, athlete. I'm going to do this positive. It's going to bring you great joy. And because of that, and then we'll defend regardless of what you do. So Obama was an example of that. He would, for those blacks who voted for him and who were crying in the streets and dancing in the streets when he was elected, nothing he did, they will allow to be critiqued in any way. And we do that. We put people on pedestals where they can do no wrong versus intelligently choosing. If someone, now, of course, I did not vote for Obama. I was clear what that was about. I don't know how so many of our people fell for the Kool-Aid, but nonetheless, even if you do, but if you could fall for the Kool-Aid, then you don't see clearly and you can't critique. But the reality is we live in a society where our children are exposed to these media images. And of course, you know what? And these celebrities, and they're going to do, because actually they're being paid to do it. They're being selected because they're so talented, and they know that we can present this person, and African people will put them up on a pedestal, and then we can use them to degrade African people. So that's being done. But we have to be aware that as Africans, and not that we expect these individuals who have not said, I am committed to re-Africanization. So we can ask, but I'm not holding my breath. But definitely, as Africans from our traditions, every person has a responsibility to the village, and they are in a position to assist us. So we should ask, but definitely without the expectation that it's going to be done, because actually we alone, you know, the sales and whatever Black people buy, we contribute to their wealth and status, but it's African people alone. So other people are putting them in that where they are, and they're going to, whether they personally agree or with what's going on in that industry. For example, entertainers found out quick that they couldn't speak against homosexuality. They lose their jobs. Isaiah Washington is an example of that. But anyway, people in those positions, whether they personally agree with what's going on in the industry, but if they're trying to get paid, so basically my mother described, you know, you're selling your soul. And when you sell your soul, you do whatever it takes. And that's why whites also will help you to put you in superstar status, and you can't imagine life without being there. So even if you are opposed to anything, you're going to seriously censor, monitor anything you say or do that your white masters would have a problem with, even though you presenting yourself, you know, you're unbought, unpaid, you're powerful, blah, blah, blah. That's not the reality. And even if that's the reality, if you're thinking out of a Euro mind, then your actions reflect that. So I would agree with both parts of that we shouldn't have the expectation, but we still, as African people, pay to other Africans. As an African, you should have some concern about young people looking up to you as a role model.
Absolutely. And Mama, I would call it just social responsibility, you know, or being socially responsible. You know, like you said, I mean, it's certain things, you know, if you're in public and you see some children around, it's certain things you say, well, I'm not going to say and do or discuss because there's a child present. It's just being socially responsible. You don't sit there and say, well, I don't care. Mm-hmm. It's not my child. I'm going to do my thing. I don't care. No, you have to be socially responsible. But we live in a Euro culture or European culture where that's extremely individualistic. So we don't care about anybody else. You know, we Absolutely. Are extremely individualistic. So we worried about me and mines, and I'm going to do me, and I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to get my bag. And it's me instead of us or instead of we. And so that's really the issue. And, you know, what's sad is that you have women who really think that, you have women who believe, Mama Yaa, like this is the standard. They think that this is classy behavior. They're calling this stuff female empowerment. And I've asked women, how is this behavior empowering us? If anything, this behavior is going to increase, you know, broken homes, you know, fatherless, motherless children. I mean, how is this behavior empowering us? And no one has given me an answer. How is this empowering? They're saying this stuff is female empowerment, to show your body off, to create these. I remember I was telling you offline, Mama, that they have these, I think it's OnlyFans pages where, you know, you can put up pictures of yourself and videos and people can pay to see you and all that. So they're looking at this stuff as empowerment. And I'm asking, I've asked several times, how is this empowering you? You know, how is this empowering you, you know, socially and politically and economically? How is this, you know, what is this doing? If anything, you know, and Mama, I judge right or wrong behavior based on, will it advance the collective? Will it advance us, or will it regress us? Will we regress or will we progress? And that's how I view whether behavior is right or wrong. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, Mama.
Excuse me. They're redefining power. So it's giving them sexual power. Women have always had sexual power, but it used to be men there were standards, and they just couldn't walk up to any woman on the street they meet and they're having sex. They're doing a one-night stand. They moving in. Also, Black women meeting a guy at a club tonight, moving them in the next day, that kind of craziness. But they're changing. Women have always had sexual power, which was used for good in terms of women set the sexual standard. So we didn't allow men to treat us. We weren't prostitutes, so you wouldn't come. And a man of any good sense and character knew how to step to a woman in a way. Now, it doesn't mean that men weren't misbehaving behind closed doors. and doesn't mean that, because I heard, all these rumors in my small town. Oh, somebody was married, but while they were married, one of the children got a daddy by somebody, so it's not that women were perfect, but there were standards. And when those women did behavior that wasn't the standard, then the other women responded appropriately in terms of their daughters would be taught and would not be allowed to hang around that woman. And whenever you were of a certain age, you were told that's what she did, that's what you don't do. So we were clear on that. So we do have a sexual power, but it's interesting, Mama. So it's like this may be the last heyday for those people who are caught up in the Euro culture of women even having sexual power anymore, in that you have men, the homosexuality, bestiality, pedophilia, everything. So it's anything goes. So women really can become useless out of the equation when in a society where anything, everything is an opportunity for sexual gratification. So I remember, growing up with the scripture, it's better to marry than to burn, so, but those standards, no, you don't have to marry. You don't have to burn either. You get a slight feeling, it's time to find a sexual partner. And Mama, let me give you a good example. I read years ago in Ebony magazine, one of the HBCUs, at this period of time, the percentage of male students was very small. And instead of these young ladies saying, okay, and well, it's an opportunity. So, for us to focus on our studies, they decided they were going to be lesbians. So not that they grew up and they've always been, no, it was none of that. It was them making a conscientious decision that if there weren't enough males to go around, but so it's like you're in college and you feel the need that you have to have sex. And so if there aren't enough available males, then we'll
just turn to each other. We'll just choose whatever. We'll just turn to each other and do our own thing. And this was at Spelman,
where it's all about sex.
Now this was at Spelman?
No. It wasn't Spelman. It was an HBCU. So no, Mama. So it was a campus a co-ed campus, but about the growing numbers of the Black females outnumbering Black males.
Absolutely.
So I don't remember the name of the school because I read it years ago. But I specifically remember reading in Ebony magazine, and the male population was low. And so that was their solution versus for me, that would have been, okay, great. Let me focus on my studies. And of course, oftentimes you have your boyfriend at home. So you come, visit each other, you go home for breaks, whatever. But also, the whole notion of you don't have to be in a sexual relationship every day of your life.
Right. Like, why is that the focus or the main? Why is that a high priority? Or why is that
24/7? Yeah, it's 24/7, Mama.
And it's really the culture that places a high, an emphasis on sex. And the music, everything is sex, sex, sex. Even Mama Yaa in the cartoons. Even in the cartoons, absolutely. The cartoons have a very strong, sexual vibes, even cartoons. So it's in the cartoons, it's in music, it's in movies, it's on televisions. So it's the strong emphasis on sex. And so then you wonder why we see so much, we see rape, molestation, pedophilia, promiscuity, because it's like this culture over sexualizes people. That's what it does.
Absolutely, Mama. Absolutely. The Lion King, was first, that movie many years ago now. The word sex is actually in that movie. But how they can make images go by so quickly. So with your conscious eye, you don't see it. But when someone looked at it, slowed it down, and that wasn't the only movie. So why in the world would you slip the word sex into the movie? But of course, since that time, I don't watch the children's shows, but people with children and students have told us about the TV shows. Recently, you had two daddies getting married or something on one of the TV shows, but everything is sexual. And part of when they made these adult comics, like oh my goodness, The Simpsons. But you know, when that period of time they were making shows for adults, but then that's confusing to children, because it used to be those shows were for children. So if you have parents who weren't monitoring, but now it's actually in the TV shows specifically written for children, even Sesame Street. So why would Sesame Street have Prince, you know, some of his lyrics on Sesame Street, Katy Perry, who did the song, and she was on the Sesame Street after doing the song, and it might not have been immediately after, but I Kissed a Girl and I liked it. But why would, at Sesame Street, why would you bring on these singers who have very sexual lyrics?
Right, and you're promoting it to children. Like prior to puberty, you don't have a sexual orientation. You haven't even gone through puberty yet. So right. why are we displaying, you know, sexual orientations in children's cartoons or films or whatever that's targeting children?
Because you're opening that door to pedophilia. So of course, you know what's in the future. You're going to continue to lower the age of the consent, which they've already done in other European nations. But mama, we should be concerned because of this hypersexualization in this society. You have pre-K. I've heard a story about pre-K. Definitely heard about so the pre-K, the children outside playing, they're trying to perform same-sex sexual behavior on each other. Kindergartners on a bus, and it's old news now. Middle schoolers in the school bathrooms performing oral sex on each other. High schoolers in the classroom, say in a lab classroom where you can't see underneath. So students in the back of the room having sex classes going on. So our children have already been turned out. This horrification is a process of turning people out. It's been ongoing. And people are now willingly turning themselves out.
So Mama Yaa, what would you have to say to people who would think or believe that these people are just expressing their sexuality? I mean, even in African culture, we express sexuality. What would you say to that?
Well, you know what? We African people always had standards of behavior. And the difference, of course, we're sexual beings as adults. We expect adults to have sex lives, but it is not a 24/7 preoccupation with sex. And there were also guidelines as to correct behavior. We have in the Oracles of Ma'at, I will not commit sodomy. If you look up sodomy in the dictionary, it refers to anal and oral sex. You have also teachings against homosexuality in our ancient literature. So nobody is telling adults you can't have sexual behavior. Of course, Africans had sex. That's how we have billions of Africans on the planet today. We've had billions of people. Sex is natural. What is going on is not natural, where there are no, and this is the general society, there are no boundaries, there are no guidelines, there are no standards of behavior. So basically what we're seeing, you have people who think about sex 24/7. Mama, a number of years ago now, Baba and I are getting some takeout at a Black vegetarian restaurant in Atlanta. It was open mic night and a Black woman is on the mic. And she's talking about masturbating in the bathroom while she's at work. So where there's no boundaries, none whatsoever. And so no boundaries in what you do, but also no sense of shame. And when you have no sense of shame, no boundaries, you do anything and everything. And not only you don't have a sense of shame, but this culture promotes you
Yeah, and
If,
you put,
you know, you think you're something because you've had sex with Tom, Dick, Harry, whatever African name he may have, you know, or him, her too. You've been in the threesomes, you licking people's anus, something I a couple of years ago saw online, the newest fad. I mean, but there are no boundaries. So if the Euros are having sex with their dogs, I would be shocked that Black people aren't, because we're at that point where anything Euros do, and definitely there was a Black man, he was mentally ill in South Carolina, I believe, but who was arrested multiple times for having sex with a horse. Now that came to his mind some kind of way, but mama, pornography has been a major way of turning our people out. And so it was first our Black men and boys and, you know, Playboy magazine, whatever. But, you know, when in our equal rights and our sexual freedom, women wanted to, oh, y'all watching porn? Well, we want to watch it too. And, and the porn definitely I haven't watched it, but from watching TV, so the guys would be watching porn, and then, or the jokes would always be when they see two females hugging, it would be a sexual joke about it. So it went from, and I'm old enough and I'm a TV watcher, so I've been able to watch this transition. So it went from the females, you know, frowning up that's something negative, you know, to, oh, they're embracing. So that's what happened to our people. Things that we about Euros gave us the freedom to be degenerate like them, and anything goes. And people, but mama, as Africans, we can't do we can do it, but I'm saying it goes against our African spirit. So even though we're in the land of Babylon, we're in the wilderness, we're amongst all this filth, and people do a lot of things. But you know what? Black people have a lot of addictions going on. Yeah. Some of them, and the sad part, will be sexual, but we're doing a lot of drinking. I didn't know about till more recent years. We have a lot of alcoholic women, and we're looking for drugs.
Escapism.
We're trying to do something.
Escapism.
So if you're all powerful, you got all this sexual pleasure going on. What's the problem? Something is wrong. So something doesn't add up. So people who are in a good place spiritually, we're not perfect. We deal with life. Life is a series of challenges. But if you have to have addictions to survive on a daily basis, but you feel yourself so empowered. The reason African-centered people are complaining about our oppression, we're clear, we're being oppressed. And that goes against our African spirit. But we menticide in that process of killing our African minds. So we're doing things that are Euro, we're to the best of our ability, our hair, skin color, features, we're trying to be Euros, but until it's popular. So now we want the big behinds and whatever, but nonetheless, we're still African inside. So we can do those things, but you're not going to be, it's like someone who was raised with standards and finds themselves, you know, they get caught up, they ran away, got caught up with a pimp, whatever. They may do those things, but they're not at peace doing them, you know. But what goes on now, at least they're clear that they were clear that they were whores and prostitutes, and they knew that wasn't something positive. But we have the version of, you know, the high class call girls. So you're doing it, you're in control of it, you're getting paid money, whatever, you know, bragging rights, whatever. But you still have an African spirit. And if you were really in touch with your spirit as Africans, we wouldn't be able to, the things that we're pretending that make us so happy, that is not really the behavior of happy people. And in fact, we're looking at these celebrities, when you really get the backstory of what's going on with them, they've been suicidal, they're depressed, they're on all kinds of meds, they bipolar, whatever. Something is wrong with that. Very wrong. It doesn't mean that, you know, African-centered people can't have hey, we in a land of
Voices.
oppression, we're going to have mental problems, physical problems, all of that. But it's an illusion, and we're we're drinking the Kool-Aid.
Absolutely. And, absolutely. And like you said, African centered people aren't perfect.
Absolutely
we have
not.
our vices, we have our, our issues. In fact, I was sitting here when you said that, I was thinking about Dr. Kobe Cambon's book, The African Personality in America, and his book, Cultural Misorientation. And also Dr. Naeem Akbar's books, where they talk about the psychopathologies that we acquire, just from being or existing in this European, society, in this culture. And so that's what I was thinking about. We're going to have our issues. We all have our vices. So I totally agree with that. So Mama Yaa, I know that we're coming down to the wire. I have about 9 minutes left with you. My question is this, moving into resistance. How do we, or how should we, resist, the horrification of African women? So let's move into discussing that for the last, 9 minutes of the discussion.
Absolutely, because I think we're all clear on the problem. But Mama, I think, just simple old school things, teaching. It all starts with teaching. And even our daughter is in her 30s now, but I'm remembering having to teach her about what I was hearing, what was going on sexually, things that my mother never heard of. And I'm just, was in like anal. When I first heard about anal, like, what? But anyway, we have to warn our children, and we can't wait. I think my mom did the sex talk. I was 13. No, I couldn't wait for my daughter to be 13. Not that I was so eager. No, I meant what was going on in the society. And I had to make sure she was clear. So taking that role very seriously, we're the first teachers. And if we're not teaching them, they're still going to be taught. Their friends are if they spend any time away from you, somebody is probably there's a good possibility they're being taught things that you don't want them to be taught. Okay, so you may not be able to stop that short of putting them in a bubble, but of course we're being very selective to the best of our ability as to who we leave, have around our children. But we have to teach them. And in today's world, I'm telling you about preschoolers trying to perform sexual acts on each other. So first of all, these are the young children who are they're imitating something they have seen. So my first question is, what are we allowing our children to see? So we need that role of censoring and monitoring. And I know it's hard as a parent to do that, but that's why some Black families don't have TVs in the house.
In their home. Yes, right. I know. I know.
Right. So it's like they won't be watching it on TV here, but then you have to be mindful if they're visiting relatives or if they're going over to a friend's house, monitoring the music. And so, hey, again, the music, it didn't start with this generation. So even, we're going back to the 70s, Marvin Gaye, love his voice, very talented, but those are not songs we should want our children. Those may be songs for couples in the privacy of our bedroom, but those are, not music we want our children to be exposed to. Definitely, Mama, the internet. I'm hearing from parents, our children are becoming addicted to porn through the internet. And in fact, the internet is used for good. This is an example where it's used for good, but it's definitely used for evil. And of course, with the devils, they very much want it to be used for their good, and their good is doing evil. But that our children should not have unsupervised use of any device that allows them, to access to the internet. Because Mama, you can even just Googling something, you're not trying to find anything sexual, and something
and it pops up. I had to my 10-year-old, he has a cell phone, and it was something, I don't know what he Googled or what he put in, but he was able to pull up a very sexually charged animation. And so, we caught it because we, of course, go through like his Google searches and we look at stuff. And so we were able to catch it. But you're right. Sometimes you don't even have to be looking for it or putting it. It comes up.
Absolutely. And that's the work of demons. That's what they do. And in fact, because they know some of us are not seeking it. So so mama, for example, years ago now, all this is like just old news, but that devil Madonna and some other white female entertainer, but I wasn't watching the show. She French kissed this other female. They showed it repeatedly. So you didn't have to watch the show and accidentally see if you just flipping the channels. So just flipping the channels is an unsafe thing to do. It's no telling what you may come across. But that's why we have to so protect our children, but also our children need villages. So we need to be a part of villages. And it's probably going to be, the reality is it's probably going to be small in terms of the number of people that you would really be able to allow your child to be around with, without your supervision.
Absolutely.
But they do need, unless you intend for them to never get married or, interact with the world. But that's what we have to build, villages of like-minded people, all the while still eyes on our children, because the children who have been molested by family members or friends were individuals that their parents felt comfortable with allowing around their children.
That's a fact. That's
school,
a fact.
Mama. Old school, we have to be even more vigilant. And, I thought my mother was overprotective, but I quickly found, and my daughter thought we were overprotective. But you know what? I'd rather be overprotective any day. But as what we're hearing, though, we're finding out things were going on at that time. It just wasn't being publicized. So we weren't being overprotective.
Yeah.
But today, even so, I would rather be guilty of overprotecting my child than underprotecting my child and allowing this devilment, for her to be a prey victim to the madness. So it comes down to us and family and village, protecting our children, but also then, Mama, for us adults. And you don't have to have children. Our daughter is grown. Us, when we say we talk a good game, I'm African and I'm a goddess and we call each other kings and queens. It sounds very interesting, but the behavior I see doesn't match that. So what about, and I what, Baruti and I have never, and I have nothing against people who say, king and queen, when they behave that way toward each other. But I was on one show, Mama, I hadn't heard the term, the divine whore. So, for me, a goddess, I heard they say, be a lady in public, be a whore in the bedroom. I'm like, no, I don't want to be a whore in any room at any moment, any second in my life. But that's being taught, so you're teaching people that's something you should be doing. Or also the oxymoron of divine whore. Okay, so but then you understand, if you believe in that concept, that then you can do all this whorish behavior, but still I'm a goddess. You know what? It's not that I cringe when I see that. I love it when it's going to be embraced. But what I see too many times is a disconnect. We talk a good game, kings, queens, gods, goddesses, but our behavior is something very different. So I would say for us adults, we need to commit to being African. And that would mean, though, for some of us, we have to give up some of our proclivities with many people not trying to go there, and that doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. But even us having some standards, because in the community, we don't have standards as to what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, because we're, in this world of sexual freedom. And the reason I stopped subscribing to Essence and Ebony many years ago, I'm reading these articles. Women are writing in, their husbands trying to get them to participate in oral sex, which they were opposed to. And they're being advised, well, anything two consenting adults do, there's nothing wrong with it. But so basically these women were being advised, go against your personal standards of behavior. So first of all, maybe we need some personal standards of behavior, which we apparently don't have, because when you don't have them, then you're in a position. So if you go into a marriage or a relationship and you have not set any boundaries, then when your spouse is asking you to do something that goes against you, well, those should have been deal breakers before the marriage. And I'm not saying, oh, well, you have to do it since now you're married and you didn't do it. But I'm saying those are the kinds of things that we need to do. We need to have some standards and be clear and make those standards known as we interact, with our people in our village. So it's about personal accountability, responsibility, having standards. We're not going to be perfect, but knowing what the standard is and trying to live up to the standards that are more in keeping with our African tradition, and not allowing, as we run out of time, I know, but I have to say this, not allowing Europeans or these Negroes who are black skinned, but Negro in their mind and heart, who are trying to convince us. They're coming up with depictions of our people. Oh, so basically what they're now trying to tell all of the perversions that when my friends go to the motherland and they're told, people mention homosexuality in the village, folks didn't know what they're talking about. But they're trying to we're allowing other people to tell us who our ancestors were when we didn't have evidence. We don't have African evidence of this. This is other people trying to interpret behavior or just on their word. And again, we're being sheep being led to the slaughter. So if African people were and still are, those of us in tune with our African heritage, are family-centered people, then we're about marriage and male-female relationships, because that's how we produce children. That's just basic, biology. But basically, Mama, being accountable to ourselves, to our ancestors, we owe it to our ancestors. We owe it to our children. We need standards.
Hold up. I got to give you this, Mama. Hold on.
Fire, 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 fire.
Woo. If I had a sound effect, like a drop the mic sound effect, like, something, Mama, you lit it up tonight. I mean, you touched on so much tonight. And I appreciate your knowledge, your wisdom, your energy, and your time. I know that the people in the chat, I see brothers and sisters from my French-speaking brothers and sisters. So some are from France, the UK. So they're in the building. Yes. So I would like to say hotep to my brothers and sisters, my French-speaking brothers and sisters in the building. So I want to say hotep to you, family. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Mama Yaa Baruti, do you have any? Well, I guess those were your closing words, huh?
But I do want to tell people about a couple of upcoming events, Mama.
Please do.
Oh, okay. So I do quarterly sister circles. And in fact, the previous one was on resisting the horrification of African women. The next one is Saturday, November 7th, 4 to 6 p.m. And the topic is resisting feminism by any name, by any color, because, we got the Black feminism, or, we want to call it African or Black womanism, whatever, but it's all the same. Okay, we want to resist that too, but that's coming up. But also in the month of November, our annual Kebuka program. Kebuka is a Kikongo word that means remember, and Brother Baruti has written a book entitled Kebuka, Remembering the Middle Passage Through the Eyes of Our Ancestors. It's a short book, but very powerful. Mama Marimba Ani calls it one of the best books on the Middle Passage, because it's asking the reader to try to put ourselves in the place of our ancestors when they were on those coffle lines and ships. But anyway, it's a annual program where we're commemorating our ancestors and, committing to, we will never forget. When people tell us to, no, you don't forget your history, but we're not going to forget what happened to our ancestors. And the problem, when you see the sexual degradation of African people today, it's because they have forgotten. Because if we remember the suffering of our ancestors, the things that we're doing, it's treasonous against them. We would never do that. But it's so important to remember our ancestors. So that's going to be Saturday, November 21st, 5 to 9. But I want people can, for further information, they can email me, Yaa Baruti at yahoo.com. You can contact me through my Facebook page. But also, we have online school program. So an African-centered tutorial program for our children. So if we have full-time, part-time options. So you can contact me as well via email or my Facebook page or Bob Rudy's. But definitely reach out if you're interested in any of our events. But also, please check out my Facebook page and friend me but send me a message, because I get friend requests and sometimes they're crazy people and you're scared if you don't know them. But send me a message, you were watching this program, and so that I can add you, and then you would be able to see on a daily basis, the information we're putting out or upcoming events.
Mama Yaa, what age group does your program target?
4th graders and up.
4th and up. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
And thanks for asking that, Mama, because we get a lot of questions for younger ones, and we start with 4th graders. Okay, beautiful.
And parents can use this program to homeschool if they so choose.
Yes. So our students are being homeschooled, and that if they're full-time with us, that means we're their full-time tutors. We're teaching them all of the subjects, or we also have part-timers. So the parents are homeschooling, but they may not feel as comfortable with or, capable to teach certain subjects. And so that child may come to us for, and definitely we get students for the Our Story class, but even language arts, whatever, math. But so we definitely have options. And also we do one-on-one tutoring sessions. So wonderful. If 4th graders and up, if parents are interested, definitely, contact us.
Excellent. And Mama Yaa Baruti, your website is akabenhouse.com. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So that's
thanks, Mama.
Yes. So
Akaben is spelled AKOB as in black, EN, the word house. So Akaben House is one word, but www.akabenhouse.com. And so all of Brother Baruti's books, and we have lots of video lectures, and we have some books by other African Center authors, but do please check out our website. And we tell people whenever all those purchases support our program. So this is our 22nd year, and tuition has not paid the bills. So it's those book sales, people making donations, they make the difference. So definitely, please check out our website.
Definitely. So thank you so much again, Mama Yaa, for coming on the platform. Family, join me back here tomorrow. I have Dr. Jared Ball coming on to talk about the myth, the propaganda and myth of Black buying power. You don't want to miss this. So tomorrow, join me back here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have Dr. Jared Ball coming on to speak about his book, The Propaganda and Myth of Black Buying Power, Peace and Black Power.
Let's combat, fight back, the mind, control of the masses, and common core. They dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks, cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maat.